Okay, now that I showed you how to set up your screens and now how to create your fish finder apps within the screen, let's talk about how you set it all up. All right, so we'll go here for the chart combo, kind of keep it simple. We're gonna open this thing up. Now, once you're in here, there's some things that I feel like you should have, you should do to optimize it. All right, starting with the chart side, I'm gonna open up the options menu here. We're gonna get the pop out. One of the first things you're going to do, if you have a fish finder card in there, Navionics, whatever brand you're into, I'm going to go down. It's going to start out of the box, maybe on simple or detailed. You're going to want to go to fishing. Once you click fishing, it's going to go ahead and read the Chartplotter card. All right, and it's going to give you all the perks and all the contour lines of that card. Now we're in demo mode here. You can't expect it to show that, but that is what you do want to do. Make sure you go in, put it on the fishing, and then that way it'll read from your chart plotter card and give you all the contours that you need and want. All right. Next thing you're going to want to do is go to the cogwheels, hit OK. We're going to go in here to tinker with some of your settings for the map. All right. Now, obviously here, if you're using CMap, if you're using, Navionics, or if you're using Lighthouse, this is where you would choose the card that you're using. Going over to setup, this is important here. I always put it on high. I leave my chart motion on relative. My chart orientation for me is always heads up, so I know where I'm going. All right. Now your boat type, you can change this. One cool thing about the Element is they kept the kayak guys in mind. There's an option to have your icon be a little kayak. Pretty cool. You can set the size of your icon. For me, boat position, I always like a partial offset so that I can see more of what's coming ahead of me and just a little bit of where I've been. You can also do this as a full offset as well, which I do sometimes as well. But partial, I kind of like this more. For the rest of these settings, you can scroll down. Some of these don't really apply if you're not hooking it up to a network or a radar system. The next thing you're going to go to is, I always have my waypoint names off so it doesn't clutter the chart screen. Community edits, if you have Navionics, definitely want that turned on so you can get the perks of those Navionics community info. And that is the last thing there. Next thing, we click over to depths. Now this is where you can set some things up here, set your shallow area. For me, I would want to set this down to about 2 feet because again, in this kayak, because there's a trolling motor, I want to know that where I'm at and if it's shallow. You can set your deep contours here. Sonar charts and logging is all options right here. You definitely want your sonar logging for the areas that you're fishing. And if you want to do sonar chart live, simply click it to turn it on and it'll start recording the data to your micro SD card, which then you can upload to Navionics later for them to, add to the body of water. And especially if you're on a new body of water that hasn't been charted, that's how you would actually do it with Sonar Chart Live. Turn that on, okay? Density, I leave it at very high. Fishing zone, if you are looking for fish and you know they're in a certain range in the water column, like say for instance, it's springtime right now, guys are catching walleye in 4 to 8 feet, right? You would turn this on and you would set it up for 4 to 8 feet. And then at that point, what would be displayed here on the chart would be any water that sits in that, 4 to 8 feet would be white. And so that you can quickly glance at your chart and the water and the breaks and see where that white is. And you can get on into that zone to fish for them. So it's just a way to kind of help you find the area, the right depths that these fish that you're targeting are currently at, okay? 2D shading is on. That's the last option. I just leave it on. Finally, your data boxes. All right, this is how you're going to change the information that's displayed on your page here. Let me kind of go back. If you see here on this one, we have your depth up here. We have a time up here. We have the temperature and supply voltage down here, and you have the time. For me, what I find to be most important to have, this obviously changes person to person here, but for me, I like my depth on the top left. I like my temperature in the top right. So we go to environment, go to water temp. Bottom right, I like my depth. Oh, I'm sorry, I have depth already there. I like this one to be speed over ground, which is if I'm trolling, I get to see how fast I'm going. And then bottom left, the time. Keep an eye on the time. So if we go back to the screen, this is what it looks like now. Whatever you put in the top left corner of your data boxes will always be the biggest one as well. It's something important to know. It'll always be the biggest one here. So if your speed is what you really need to know, then you would want to put your speed in the top left so that that is displayed big for you to see. Everything else is shown in like a medium to small size font here. So we got our temperature up here, we got our speed down here, we got the time down here, and you can change these to be whatever you want, but that is how you access them. And if you screw it up or you want to redo it again, just reset all and it'll reset it to the factory default. You can go back in there and change them again to whatever you want it to be. We're not done with charts yet. One other thing that's important to me is having a heading off of my icon. So for instance, if I want to get to this whatever this is on the chart here, I think it's just a little simple marker. If you look at all the other boats that are in this demo, you see how there's a heading coming off of the bow. All right, I like that displayed on my kayak so that I know if I need to get to a waypoint that I'm heading right into this direction, that I'm right on it. And the way to do that is simply by clicking the OK button. All right, once you click and hold on it, you're gonna get this pop-up here. You can start a track right from here, which is exactly how to do that, in case you didn't know. You can change some of your boat position stuff, your icon right from here, but you're gonna wanna click and check mark the COG, which is course over ground. Once you click that, it'll show you your heading on your kayak. You can set the time period here, which will end up making that line longer or shorter. In this case here, I'll hit OK. 60 minutes, it'll pretty much have it off of the screen, so I like that. You could do it for something shorter. Say 6 minutes, it gives you a shorter line. If you are fishing on waypoints that are offshore, that there's no visible cues to see, all right, you're really relying just on that waypoint that's on the map. Using this heading line off your icon will get you going in that right direction. Those are all the important things that I do to set this up properly for the chart. Now moving along here, we'll go to the 2D sonar. We're gonna go ahead and hit the option button to open up the option wheel. It blows it all out. One of the things I highly suggest you do, and when it comes out of the box, this thing is in auto range mode, which means it'll just adjust on its own. The reason why I turn this off is because it has to do with range versus the pixels. And the more that it shows, like right now, I close this all up, it's showing so much more of the bottom that I need to see that it's forcing the pixels for the fish to be smaller. So when you turn it off, if I turn off auto range and I go back, and right now we're in 20 feet, and you can see there's about like what's represented as another 20 feet below it that's just kind of showing underneath, right? We got a hard bottom, right? This deep red, there's a lot of hard bottom here. But if I go ahead and just hit the range and zoom in on it, all right, those fish marks that we're gonna get are gonna be a lot clearer for us to see, and you get better pixelation out of them versus a situation here. Now, obviously this kind of water depth changing a lot because it's a demo, it is what it is. May not be the best way to kind of explain it with this, but trust me, set it to manual and just change it as you go. Next, we're gonna go to the cogwheel here, and this is gonna give you your settings for your sonar. All right, now in here, you get a lot of different options to change the color palette to your preference. You got classic blue, you got classic black, you got classic white, and a lot of other options here depending on the time of day, the lighting, so on and so forth. Me personally, I like the white, simply because in bright sunlight, the white, you don't get a lot of reflection off of it, so it makes it easier for me to see with my polarized sunglasses, so I leave it on white. A-scope, it's up to you. You can have it on or off. Bottom lock just kind of locks the bottom so that you're seeing it. It's up to you if you like it or not. I personally don't use it. You can add depth lines, you can add white lines, you can fill the bottom. I tend to do this myself. You could set some other options here with the temperature. I don't mess around with any of this. You have the color threshold here, and then you have the scroll speed. Now let's talk about the scroll speed for a second. This is something that you can change I've heard that 80% is a preferred percentage to have your scroll speed on if you're in the kayak, because we're not going full throttle in the boat, right? We're going 2-3 miles if you're kind of cruising along, if you're trolling. Some have said and suggested to, we'll hit okay here, to go down to about 80%. Now, if I go down to 80 right now, I don't suspect it's going to change much here because this is a recorded demo. But try it out and see if you notice, if you like what you get with the scroll speed. What you're looking for in particular here is, because the scroll speed is going slower, the fish representation on the screen should be more clear and more visible versus it being 100% and kind of flying through. Try this out on the water real time and see how that works out for you. Me personally, I just leave it at 100. I don't think I've noticed too much of a difference to make me, justify it or whatnot. Next is transducer. Here's where you're going to set your transducer. Where's it display, sitting at? Is it below the keel, below a water line, below transducer? In most cases, it's going to be below transducer. Next, going over to the sounder. Here's where you can set your ping control, right? And this is how much of the sonar is being sent into the water, right? That ping rate. Here, it's standard at 100. You could turn it down if you want to and see if that gives you better results. I just tend to leave it at 100. I think it's fine. You can do some other stuff here like interference rejection. You can do some second echo rejection here. I have it on low. It comes default on low. I don't think this is an issue if you're in a kayak, because this is meant to address issues if you have multiple sonar units on say a bass boat, right? You have multiple, transducers and you don't want them interfering with each other. So that's an option there. We'll go back to fish detection. This is something that's unique to the Element that the Axiom doesn't have, which is this fish detection here. I don't use any of this. I don't want beeping going on. I don't want fish icons. It's just meant to, and I'll turn it on. I don't think it's going to be represented. Oh, it does work. So the reason why I don't like fish icons is because it can kind of give you false positives here. For instance, you see, I don't know if you can see this on the screen, but you're getting fish icons at the very top of the water column, but nothing in the middle when there's clearly stuff here. I don't know that these fish icons are always reliable, so I don't trust them. I don't deal with them. All right, let's come back out, and finally we're going to go down here to our DownVision. All right, now, same thing like we did with the 2D sonar. We're gonna hit the options menu here. All right, now let's go on to our DownVision. What we're gonna do here is hit the options button again, open this thing up. And one of the big selling points about the Raymarine, we're finally getting to it, is that it offers hypervision. You're probably gonna be familiar with the term mega imaging from Humminbird. Well, Raymarine has implemented their version of essentially that. They call it hypervision. It's a 1.2 megahertz signal that goes out into the water. Now, this only works for your structure scan apps. That's going to be your DownVision and your SideVision. Here on DownVision, underneath your auto range option is where you see frequency. This is where you can click OK to change it from standard and clicking over to your hypervision. And here, I'll show you what it looks like here. Let's go into standard vision, 350 kilohertz. They say this is good for deep, deep water. So if you're going out very deep, over 100 feet, you're gonna wanna be in 350 kilohertz for your DownVision. It looks good, it looks fine, but we'll open up the options. We'll go to hypervision, and you can kind of see that difference there. It definitely cleans things up, and I feel like I get more definition for sure out of the hypervision. So if you're in less than 100 feet of water, go ahead and turn on hypervision. If you're in deeper than 100 feet of water, flip it back to the 350. And that's because hypervision does have its limitations and it doesn't do good in deep, deep water. From here, we're going to options. This is going to give you some options with your color palette. I personally like burnt yellow. You can set some other things like your depth lines, your temperature graph, temp ranges. Same thing with the sonar. Now, important to note here, even though it tells you a scroll speed, or you get the options to change your scroll speed or the color threshold, this is universal, all right? This doesn't mean you can have your scroll speed for your sonar at 100 and then your DownVision at 80. Whatever you change it to, whether it's on the sonar, 2D sonar, or the DownVision or side imaging, these are all universal, all right? So don't get confused when you come here and thinking that each element is independent. No, these are all connected. So the scroll speed is 100 for all of them. or none of them. We'll go over to transducer. Again, this is all universal. If you set this already for your sonar, this is going to be the same thing. You're not going to want to change it. Ping rate, same stuff. Finally gives you your data boxes. So these are pretty much the same thing. And the last thing we'll show you here is the side imaging. All right, same thing with the side imaging. Auto range, I have it off. As a rule of thumb, you're going to want to have your range to be 3 times the depth that you are sitting in. So in this case, we're in 25 feet of water. All right, so let me close this. We're in 25 feet of water, which means we're going to want to be about 75 feet off to the sides to get the most out of the side imaging, right? Anything more than that, you lose that definition, you lose the pixelation. It makes it harder to see fish off to the sides. So you don't want to do anything more than that. And also having it less than 3 times doesn't always give you a full picture of what you're trying to see out there either. So here, since we're in about 20 feet of water at this point in the demo, we're looking at 60 feet, 246, right? 3 times. This would be ideal for what you would be looking for and looking to do. And you know, off here, you can see stuff off the sides. You got like trees over here. You got a big kind of branch sticking out here. It's cast the shadow off to the right there. So that's kind of a reason why you want that 3 times factor on your side imaging. So keep auto range off. Again, with side imaging, you have the option for hypervision, right? Click OK. We put it in standard vision. You can see what the standard looks like here. We lose a little bit of the definition. It's still good quality. We still see things that are happening here. But if we flip it over to hypervision, we get a much stronger clarity from what's happening down there. So that's the big difference with that. Again, here, if you go to settings, remember these are all mostly connected, but the big thing here is going into the settings gives you a chance to change the color palette. All right, that's going to be a big thing. The rest of the stuff here, again, you're not going to want to tinker with it because it's all been set before, right? Your water line, your ping, all that stuff.